The healing power of forgiveness. Jesus tells us in a parable in Matthew chapter 18, starting at verse 21. Then Peter came to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Up to 7 times? Peter's thinking he's being really generous here as he brags about his ability to forgive 7 times to Jesus. And if you think about it, we would think we're being very generous to forgive someone who has wronged us over and over again 7 times. Most of us will only give folks a couple chances and then we'll write them off, seeing them as not worth it anymore or less than. Where I work, I see a lot of folks with mental illness and or addiction whose families have written them off. They have nothing more to do with them because they can't deal with their symptoms, because they've messed up over and over again and they're done forgiving them. Many are totally isolated and have no one. And where my mom lives at a senior apartment, I see older folks who never get a visitor. No doubt they may have made their kids angry and the kids hold grudges for how they raised them and they don't want to waste their time, or they have bitter hearts full of hatred or disgust over old hurts that they harbor. In both of these situations, both parties suffer. The person that you don't forgive, who maybe has no one anymore and nobody cares for them or checks on them, and they feel abandoned. And you. There's an old saying about forgiveness. Poison only harms the vessel that holds it. When you have hate or unforgiveness for someone, most of the time they're blissfully unaware, going on with their life unscathed. But you are full of poison. You chew on those old hurts daily. You're stuck in a cycle of anger, resentment, and bitterness. Who's hurt now? You are. Jesus continues the parable, verse 22. Jesus says to him, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. And when he had begun to settle accounts, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. That would be worth millions in today's monies. But he was not able to pay. His master commanded that he be sold with his wife and children and all that he had, and that payment be made. The servant therefore fell down before him, saying, Master, have patience with me, and I will pay you all. Then the master of that servant was moved with compassion, released him, and forgave him the debt. Jesus always explains things so perfectly, and I love this. He shows this servant who had a huge debt that he owed. And this servant pleaded for forgiveness, and the master forgave him of the whole debt, millions and millions of dollars. That's us. We owe a huge debt. We sin over and over again. We ignore the suffering of others. We waste money and time on ridiculous things instead of helping others. We gossip. We're negative. We're judgmental. We do all kinds of things that grieve God. And yet, he is so merciful that if we come to him and we ask for his forgiveness, he always forgives us. And our slate is wiped clean over and over. Can you imagine if he only forgave us 7 times? We would have used up all his forgiveness in our first year of life. And Jesus continues the parable, verse 28. But that servant went out and found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii, which is just a few measly dollars. And he laid hands on him and he took him by the throat, saying, Pay me what you owe. So his fellow servant fell down at his feet and begged, saying, Have patience with me and I will pay you all. But he would not. He went and threw him into prison till he should pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what had been done, they were very grieved, and they came and told their master all that had been done. Then his master, after he had called him, said to him, You wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you begged me. Should you not also have compassion on your fellow servant, just as I had pity on you? And his master was angry and delivered him to the torturers until he should pay all that was due to him. Wow. So this guy who had just had a huge debt forgiven of him goes after another who just owed him a few dollars and sends him to prison. It's evil, and we're shocked at this. We're outraged, but we do the same. We continue to sin and beg God, forgive us, and he does. But the person who may have said some bad things about us or cut us off in traffic or whatever, we hold that in our hearts and we wish bad things to happen to them, even maybe obsessing on them, getting their just rewards. You're basically trying to speak evil over them, and that is beyond wrong, but we are all guilty of it. Jesus finishes the parable, verse 35. So my heavenly Father also will do to you if each of you from his heart does not forgive his brother his trespasses. So if we continue to hold grudges and be unforgiving towards others, holding on to resentments, wishing evil for them, God will do the same to us. He will not forgive us our many sins if we can't bother to forgive our fellow person who's messed up. And I know it's hard. I struggle with unforgiveness too. We all do. But when you really hear the message that Jesus is telling you, it makes perfect sense. And trust me when I tell you, when you're able to forgive someone, and I mean really and honestly and truly forgive them, it's like this huge weight is lifted off your chest. You're pouring the poison out from your vessel, and you're leaving room for wonderful things like joy and faith and love. All right, my friends, I hope that you have a blessed day. May the good Lord bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you.